Bernhardt of Holland joins Canadian staff officers at a conference with German commanders on the Holland front. At a schoolhouse in Occupiers, the German staff arrived to arrange details for the Allied movement of food into starving North Holland. A truce is declared as the Germans are brought to and from the meetings by Canadian transport as food lorries converge on the enemy lines. Several conferences are necessary before all matters are settled to the satisfaction of both sides. With the food,
Canadian soldiers came to our country and not only liberated us from the German oppression, but also brought food to our part of Europe again, which was really important at that moment. People were starving from hunger, didn't have food for a long time, ate tulip bulbs in certain cases, and they had rough times. And then these young Canadian soldiers, 18, 19 years old, came over and brought food to the population of the Netherlands, and that has been a wonderful experience for my grandparents, for the people who were then living in the Netherlands. It has been something which has been remembered forever since then.
My personal experience with the Dutch people spans two key areas. One is the liberation of the Scheldt, but more particularly through the winter and spring of 1945 into central Holland, where the Canadians were based in Nijmegen, and the resupply, the feeding of the Dutch people, and then the liberation that carried on through early 1945 until Victory in Europe Day.
During the enemy's last hours of control in northern Holland, a spirit of wild fiesta reigns in towns and villages freed by the Canadian drive. Behind are the grim years of famine and oppression. The bands play and the people welcome the dawn of a free new day.
As a little boy, flying to the pilots from the Lancasters, from the RAF. A moment I'll never to forget. The food was for the Germans, and the people of Holland had nothing.
There was starvation to such an extent that really 20,000 Dutch people have died in that period from lack of food. And my situation was especially difficult because we had a colored skin. I am half Asian, half European. And we run the risk to get imprisoned because we were not Aryan at the same time. I was very much affected by the liberation I experienced by the Canadian Army. They have liberated me from the Nazi German occupation.
New hope comes to Holland with nourishing food. Gone are the grim days of starvation. Hours of oppression are numbered as victory looms on the horizon.
The Canadians came to our house. Madam, we have some chocolate for the little girl. No, no chocolate for the little girl. My mother was very angry because I was begging for chocolates, but I got the chocolates. And at the end of the war from Groningen, when Groningen was liberated, lots of Germans, they walked through the avenue on the main street, accompanied by the Canadians.
It's been so long now, over 70 years now, almost 75 for next year, but they have not forgotten the fact that the Canadians played such a huge part in their historical significance for their country.
It really is awe-inspiring to see what the soldiers did of the day, and it's super important for people to realize the impact that Canadians had 75 years ago and how it still has a huge impact on the Dutch society.
Across the sea in Canada, victory is celebrated from coast to coast.
I feel grateful that I get to live in a country that's free, where I am not being oppressed if I go outside, where I don't, where I don't have to give my everything, that I get my food, my clothes, my bicycle, my own possessions to a soldier or someone who is an occupant.